everywhere, GBS.
Well, a very good morning and thank you very much for joining us on GBS Morning Extra. It is the 5th day of the month of November 2019, and I'm glad that you've joined us this morning. We are bringing you this broadcast live from our station here in Nairobi, the capital of Kenya. Well, to start us off this morning, President Uhuru Kenyatta has challenged all government agencies to utilize the population data released in the 2019 National Census for better planning and development. The head of state, who lauded the enumerators and security personnel who ensured a smooth exercise, saying the data would go a long way in guiding successive planning for the benefit of all Kenyans.
And the population has grown to 47.6 in 2019 from 37.7 million in 2009. The intercessor growth rate has declined to 2.2% in 2019 from 2.9, has declined from 2.2% in 2019 from 2.9 in 2009.
Fellow Kenyans, the census is an important exercise that facilitates evidence-based planning and decision-making across all spheres of development. The numbers released today that indicate that our population is 47.6 million will go a long way in guiding the successful planning and implementation of government development initiatives, including our Big Four agenda, and this for the benefit of all Kenyans. I do expect, as has been stated by the Director General of the Bureau, that the National Bureau of Statistics will release other census volumes as scheduled, and the results made available to our planners, but also to the Kenyan public. These results released today now provide us with a unique opportunity to realign our development strategies, our policies and programs. And so therefore today we do direct that all ministries, departments, and government agencies to utilize these results. And I also urge other arms of government, counties, stakeholders, and also our development partners to make use of these results in their planning processes. Fellow Kenyans, as I conclude my remarks, I want to once again thank and commend the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, from the chairman to the board, from management to all the many thousands of young men and women, as well as our village elders who participated in this exercise. To all of you, I say a very deep and heartfelt thank you. I am also very grateful to all the security personnel who ensured peace prevailed during the census exercise. You lived to your true calling by providing the necessary security, not only to the census officials, but also to members of the public. Fellow Kenyans, I am happy to note that this is the first census to be conducted under the 2010 Constitution and was by and large fully funded by my...
Now, moving on to other matters, the disciplined forces have been challenged to serve with integrity and stay true to their oath of service to the country. President Uhuru Kenyatta pledged reforms in the service that will see the uniformed officers equipped with modernized facilities and technology to combat crime. He made the commitment during the annual National Thanksgiving service for the disciplined officers.
You have been called upon to put your own lives on the line for the greater good. And in the process, we have been unfortunate and lost some of our brave men and women. I would therefore ask each one of us to stand and take a moment to remember all those men and women in uniform who have had to pay the ultimate price in the line of duty. I would request that. I want to assure you that my administration will continue to support modernization and transformation initiatives with a view of making your work conditions better and more progressive. Serve humanity with integrity. It is the surest way to serve that God that we proclaim. Do your work with utmost honesty and faithfulness, and all the time remember that we are here to serve our people.
Now, on another event where President Uhuru Kenyatta on Monday presided over the official opening of the AmCham Business Summit. The event held by the American Chamber of Commerce focuses on infrastructure that's leveraging on private sector partnership to unlock investment in infrastructure development, including affordable housing, and also agri-business that's driving sustainable and profitable agri-business manufacturing and universal healthcare, which addresses the East African health challenge, renewable energy that addresses the emerging global renewable energy hub, technology and digital economies.
With our neighbors in the region who are participating in this forum, we are proud to be part of our East African community. And there are several reasons why we seek this fundamental change in our partnership. But today, just let me highlight three of these. First, as a country, Kenya recognizes the very critical role played by the private sector in driving not just our economy, but innovation, which holds the key to job creation. Towards making Kenya the preferred destination of choice for investment, my administration has steadily improved the trade and investment environment. With regard to promoting good governance, let me once again underscore that my administration has scaled up the war against corruption, a war which I want to assure you, especially the business community, that we shall not relent on. And we will therefore strive to uphold good business practices and keep the business environment transparent and fair, and ensure that all businesses in Kenya have a level playing field, regardless of whether they are local or international companies. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last couple of years, we have had several engagements with the United States government, as well as U.S. business leaders. This most recent includes a meeting with President Trump in August of last year, and also the American Chamber of Commerce. We also met last year here in Nairobi, plus a further meeting with some of you in New York in September of this year. It is only by working together that we can be assured of conquering this corruption dragon.
I am confident the interaction of our business communities will generate positive outcomes that will enhance our trade and investment relations. Ladies and gentlemen, the 4 key priority areas the Kenyan government has selected to focus on are fondly referred to as the Big 4 agenda. These include growing the manufacturing sector and increasing its contribution to the GDP from the current 9% to 15% by 2020, ensuring food security, construction of affordable housing units, and attracting investment in that sector, and also provision of universal health care for all our citizenry. These sectors are also our key areas of focus for additional investments. The other potential areas for investment include, but not limited to, financial services, renewable energy, tourism, and information communication.
Now, away from that, it's that the National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale is calling for a review of Article 256 of the Constitution to give explicit guidelines on conducting a referendum. Duale says in its current state, the law leaves a lacuna that rogue administrations can exploit to thwart a constitutional review process. Let's listen in.
The Constitution of Kenya 2010 has an inbuilt mechanism for review, and that is found in Article 256 when you want to go and do an amendment to the Constitution through a parliamentary initiative, or Article 257 that gives any Kenyan that power to amend the Constitution through the popular initiative. The Committee on the Implementation of the Constitution is in the process of developing a bill on the referendum procedures and election, and is indeed a paramount, and we can talk of a constitutional review without a law review. Since we promulgated the new Constitution, we are talking about referendum.
Well, moving on now is that the Kenya Livestock Market Director has warned of a looming spread of the Rift Valley fever and other waterborne diseases during these flooding seasons. He is calling on all agencies to be on high alert and to help in curbing any outbreak of diseases. Now, moving on to other matters, the search for the body of a flood victim in Baringo County continued on Sunday as the effects of the heavy rains pounding parts of the country continue to be felt. The victim is said to have attempted to cross the flooded Kerio River in the company of his sister when the raging water swept them downstream. The development comes as residents in Bura constituency, Tana River County, held demonstrations to protest against poor state of roads in the region after the bridge was carried away by the ongoing floods.
Mwenye amepelekwa na maji hatujui kama tutapata ama tutapata, na tunapoongea kaunti ndani kuna watu, kuna management ya disaster, kuna pesa, kuna watu wametrainiwa wanafanya nini kwa kaunti.
Na mimi pia natoa makataa ya wiki 2. Iwapo hatua haitachukuliwa, hatutaki kuona kontrakta yoyote kwa hiyo barabara. Tumechoka. Sisi tunataka vile barabara zingine wanapatiwa Wachina kufanya, hata hii yetu.
Hii barabara imefunguliwa juzi juzi. Saa hii hapa ishaisha.
Hakuna mahali gari inaweza kuja ichukue mtu hapa. Juu barabara imeharibika.
Well, moving on to other matters now, the National Assembly Transport Committee has alleged a conspiracy to scuttle the ongoing probe into the recent air accident in the country. The committee, chaired by Pokot South Member of Parliament David Kosing, was on Friday forced to prematurely adjourn its sitting after the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority Director Gilbert Kibe snubbed an invitation to appear before the committee.
KCAA were ready to appear before the committee. I want to be on record, honorable members, that they were ready. I want also to put on record that he called me that he was on his way to the committee this morning. So what happened, honorable members, is when they will come. Because I think this is life of Kenyans cannot be played about. We are dealing with the people whose credibility can no longer be trusted. These are not people we can trust in the air anymore. You can see their activities, you know. And I would like to urge our colleagues not to fall in the trap of getting misused by wrong people in the air.
And from a resource allocation point of view, we have earmarked in our 2019-2020 budget close to 350 million shillings to specifically address the issue of pavements at will.
Well, moving on, the Kenya Wildlife Service is raising an alarm over the affluent being discharged into the Lake Nakuru National Park, saying its diversity is affecting the ecosystem. KWS Senior Warden Catherine Wambani says that the waste that is being discharged in the river, in the lake, beg your pardon, is worsening the situation of life, and the situation is getting out of hand if not addressed as a matter of urgency.
And it's evident that the sewage flow into the park has directly affected the water quality and therefore the feed for the flamingos.
Well, four top Range Rovers stolen in the United Kingdom and shipped to the port of Mombasa have been repatriated back. Officials from KRA, DCI's office and the Kenya Ports Authority say that they have enhanced collaboration with international partners in detecting and deterring all forms of illicit trade through the Kenyan port.
In returning the vehicles, we wish to send a strong message to criminal networks in East Africa and beyond that the port of Mombasa will not be used as a conduit for illicit trade. We are going beyond the quest for revenue and heeding the President's call to root out illicit trade and safeguard a level playing field for legitimate businesses. The government is actively engaged to revamp automotive sector and promote Kenya as a vehicle manufacturing hub in the region. We cannot afford to provide passage of stolen vehicles into Kenya and other East African markets.
I want to sincerely thank our security agencies and the Kenya Revenue Authority, who have continuously kept vigil and are able to intercept stolen merchandise, including these high-end motor vehicles, which were stolen in the UK.
British High Commission in Nairobi has been actively monitoring, coordinating and liaising with KRA to support these actions. Together, we have intercepted and seized 21 high-end UK stolen vehicles worth over £1 million.
Well, moving on to other stories now, the United Nations has joined the national efforts to provide immediate assistance to tens of thousands of people affected by floods to have devastated parts of Somalia, especially the Belet-Wenye district in the Hirshabelle state. The World Food Programme, the Food Assistant branch of the United Nations, and other partners facilitated by the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, have scaled up humanitarian response, providing food and addressing the short-term nutrition needs of flood-affected families, as well as potable water, sanitation, shelter, health assistance. Well, the director of WFP in Somalia, Caesar Arroyo, said that the agency was working closely with the Somali government authorities to deliver relief in terms of affected families. The World Food Programme, the Food Assistant branch of the United Nations, and other partners facilitated by the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, have scaled up humanitarian response, providing food to address the short-term nutrition needs of flood-affected families, as well as potable water, sanitation, shelter, and health assistance. The director of WFP in Somalia, Caesar Arroyo, said that the agency was working closely with Somali government authorities to deliver relief items to affected families.
This is food that doesn't need preparation and immediately can support children, mothers, and everybody else that will need immediate response. In the meantime, we are bringing more commodities as the regular food basket to be able to support up to 2 months the area of Belet-Wenye and surrounded locations which are flooded and being impacted by the latest climate change.
The agency had delivered by road and airlifted over 260 metric tons of critical relief supplies, including high-energy biscuits. On now to neighboring Sudan, where Sudan is at a historic moment, and it's critical that children's rights are at the heart of the national agenda, UNICEF Executive Director Henrietta Fore said at the end of a 3-day visit to the country this week. Decades of conflict and underdevelopment have left millions of children vulnerable. During the visit, her first in Sudan, Fore met with several senior government officials, including the Prime Minister of the country. During the visit, her first to Sudan, Fore met with several senior government officials, including Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok, and traveled to Kadugli in South Kordofan, where she met with partners and communities. Decades of conflict and underdevelopment have left millions of children vulnerable. According to UNICEF, over 38% of children under 5 years are believed to be stunned, that is to say, too short for their age. Some 17% are wasted, that is, they are too thin for their height. Approximately 120 children die every day due to undernutrition and related causes. 2.6 million children need humanitarian assistance. Nearly 1 million children were displaced in 2019. 3.6 million children out of school, mostly in conflict-affected areas. In her discussion with the authorities, Fore stressed the need to prioritize children's needs, including strengthening action against malnutrition, addressing the education crisis, and increasing investment in children and young people. In Kadugli, Fore also met with children who were separated from their families as a result of the conflict. She also spoke with partners who work to demobilize children formerly involved in the fighting and help reintegrate them in their communities, with support from UNICEF. 4 also met with adolescent and young people in both Khartoum and South Kordofan who told her about their hopes for the future and that of their country. Now, to neighboring South Sudan, a new trust fund has been established by the United Nations to provide residents with support and the series of projects that have created normalcy in the country. The country, which once experienced decades of war, is now thriving slowly by slowly, but things like food, water, shelter, and education in the short term are being supplied to one town known as Koch in the war-torn country. The children of Koch are celebrating the opportunity of a new life, one of dignity and opportunity where they can access all basic things they need to survive and thrive. Food, water, healthcare, and education are in short supply in the town of Koch in South Sudan, which has been devastated by 5 years of civil war. A revitalized peace deal has brought relative calm to the area, giving hundreds of displaced families the confidence to return. But there is little to sustain them. Only a few stores are open in the market with a minimal amount of produce for sale. The local hospital is lovingly cared for, but the rooms are bare of equipment. The secondary schools remain closed.
This is an incredibly poor area. This is partly the reason why we've got conflict here. It's also a lot of people have moved out of this area and moved to our POC camp. And if we can put services in here and we can start developing this area, then we know that people from the POC will come back here. So one part of the project, for example, and this that we're trying to do here with the Trust Fund, is to build a secondary school. People here really value education, but there's very few secondary schools available, so having that here will help cement the reconciliation and reduce the conflict, because people will be focused on making sure their kids get to school.
The Trust Fund will rehabilitate the hospital, rebuild the court system, support survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, rehabilitate roads and markets, and help women establish businesses. Peacekeeping patrols will deter violence, while peace rallies will bring community together.
Talking to these warring parties, are they hopeful though? Do they think it'll happen? My feeling very, very strongly is that these people want peace more than anything else. The two sides are obviously working together here. They're visiting each other, they're talking to each other. They don't want to go back to war. We've been told this over and over and over. But they will if their leaders in Juba say go to war. So my message is people here are desperate for peace, and the leaders need to make sure that they look for resolving conflict not by fighting but through democratic and reconciliation.
Brutalized by the conflict, the women of Koch crave peace. They are looking forward to a better life where their children can get a chance to reach their full potential and the community can enjoy a peaceful and prosperous future. Well, that story from the Koch village in South Sudan brings us to the end of this first segment. We now take a short break. We'll be right back with more.
Healing, hope, restoration. Amazing stories of real people like you who have triumphed over tragedy. Watch Turning Point International and be inspired to reach your turning point.
It really ministers to the soul of man, and as a pastor, you benefit a lot because people learn